PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster. You know, I'm wearing flannel. I've talked about flannel in intros, and then I've forgotten what intro I talked about it, but I'm cloaked in flannel right now, or I'm clothed in flannel. So I can be cozy, so I can make you cozy. And if you're confused, you'll be confused and you'll be cozy, because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And if your hand hits the fridge tomorrow and you wonder, how does Sleep With Me put 2 episodes out every single week for free? It's these sponsors. You can find them at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. And I couldn't do it without all of you. Thanks, patrons. What do you say we get on with the show? Hey, everybody, it's Drew here, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about something I really care about, and that's a functioning democracy. And the news on that front, you probably noticed it, hasn't been great lately. And I know it's tempting to tune it out, even at bedtime, but it's important to take action and stay engaged, like I talk about on the show, being a part of positive change. And the good news is there's a lot of tangible steps we can take to be a part of that positive change. And here's one way, like a bunch of us in the podcast community have partnered with Represent Us, and it's a nonpartisan organization that's just there to spread the word about efforts to protect our election and pass laws that will make the government truly of, by, and for the people. And we're doing this because America is facing urgent anti-democratic threats. 19 states have passed laws in the past year that make it harder to vote, and we're losing a lot of election workers who are quitting in droves because of all the stuff that they have to deal with on a daily basis, just behavior that is unacceptable. There's been coordinated campaigns to put people in charge of elections who don't believe in democracy. But like I said, there are things we can do right now to ensure free and fair elections. So if you care about the state of democracy like I do, it's time for all of us, independents, progressives, conservatives, to put country over party and take a stand. And all you need to do is go to represent.us/podcast to learn more. That's represent.us/podcast. represent.us/podcast. Thanks, everybody. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive. Are you thinking more about how to tighten up your budget these days? Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save over $700 on average, and customers can qualify for an average of 6 discounts when they sign up. A little off your rate each month goes a long way. Get a quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2020 and May 2021. Potential savings will vary. Discounts vary and are not available in all states and situations. All right, everybody, it is time to talk about Helix Sleep. I mean, what kind of bed are you sleeping in? Do you want an upgrade? Do you want a bed that's made for the way you sleep? I mean, I love my Helix mattress. Came straight to my door. I took the Helix quiz. I got matched with the Helix Dusk. But I get to see when my friends or family need a bed, I say, hey, take the Helix quiz. HelixSleep.com/sleep. It takes just 2 minutes to complete, matches your body type and sleep preferences to the mattress. It's perfect for you. Like I said, you don't want to buy something made for someone else. With Helix, you're getting the mattress you know will be perfect for the way you sleep. Everybody's unique, and Helix knows that. That's why they have several different mattress models to choose from. Soft, medium, firm. Mattress is great for cooling you down if you sleep hot. Spinal alignment to keep away those morning aches and pains. Even Helix Plus mattress for plus-size sleepers. And I sleep hot. I sleep on my side. I sleep on my stomach. And the Helix Dusk Luxe fits my needs perfectly. So if you're looking for a mattress, you take the quiz, you order the mattress you're matched to, and the mattress comes right to your door, shipped for free. You don't ever need to go to a mattress store again. And Helix is awesome. You don't have to take my word for it. It's been recommended by multiple leading chiropractors and doctors of sleep medicine as a go-to solution for improving sleep. So like I said, just go to HelixSleep.com/sleep, take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress that'll give you the best sleep of your life. They even have a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free, and they'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will. Helix has financing options and flexible payment plans, so a great night's sleep is never far away. So now is the time. Right now, Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/sleep. That's up to $200 off, but you have to use that link, HELIX sleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it is time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, the one part of the podcast I really do need you to hear so I can keep the podcast free for you and everybody else that listens, plus all those 450-plus episodes in the archives. And I want to thank Jackie L., who supported Helix, and Jackie got a Helix Midnight Lux. Sorry, I had trouble saying that. It sounds so sleepy. So if you support a sponsor like Helix, like Jackie did, let them know about it. Let me know about it. Send them a letter. Give them a call. Tag them on social media. That's the most powerful way. And tag me. And that way I can thank you here on the Sleepy Supporter Zone. But that way the sponsor knows that it's valuable. We lost a couple sponsors we had last year. And we really want to keep these sponsors that are behind the show, like Helix in all form. So please, if you support them, please let them know about it. Use our links. Use our codes. And be like Jackie so I can thank you for keeping the show free for everybody. Thank you, Jackie. The second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need right now. There's links to resources you can connect with right now, including international resources in the show notes if you're having a tough time. And it's about supporting the members of our communities with our actions, saying Black Lives Matter, saying stop AAPI hate, saying, hey, let's be a part of positive change. And I want to thank Amy with an I, who recommended the Community Aid Network Minnesota. That's at CANMN.org, CANMN.org. It's a mutual aid coalition located in Loring Park, and they build mutual aid bonds with their neighbors, organize volunteers, and redistribute resources to ensure everyone has the means for dignified survival. You could support them, or if you're in Minnesota, you could volunteer for them. That's at CANMN.org. Check it out and be a part of positive change. And that is the end of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. I'm at Dearest Scooter on Twitter and Instagram. That's where you can get a hold of me or through the contact form on our website. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, things you're thinking about on your mind, thoughts, feelings, anything you're feeling emotionally, physical sensations. Maybe there's been changes in time or temperature or your routine. You got something coming up, you got somebody visiting, you're going somewhere, just got something going on. Maybe you don't even know why. Well, whatever it is, I'm here to help. I'm especially here to help with the feeling in the deep dark night, the feeling when you feel lonely, even when there's someone sleeping next to you. They need a good night's sleep too. And it can be a little bit baffling. You say, well, they got to sleep, but I can't get to sleep. So whatever it is that's keeping you awake, I'm here to help with that by taking your mind off stuff and keeping you company so you can fall asleep. And it's a little bit counterintuitive. So if you're new, stick with me. I'll try to explain everything. The first thing I'm going to do, I try to create a safe place. I try to smooth it. I try to pat it. I try to rub it down. I say, hey, here's a safe place for you. Come check it out, or I'll send it to you. The next thing I do is I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. So that means I'll go off topic. I'll get mixed up. I'll talk about something. Then I'll forget what I was talking about. Then I'll go on a tangent. And I'll do it all in a voice that sounds, not traditionally soothing. You say, it's creaky dulcet. I thought I would want to sleep to sweet dulcet tones or melodious phrones. I don't know. Those are the kinds of things I thought I would want to sleep to. And I say, yeah, this show's a little bit different. If you're new, I'm glad you're here. If you're a regular listener or an occasional listener, I'm here too. I'm so happy to see you. Really, I'm welcoming you in. Because I'm so glad you found your way here. I hope you could take a little breath, but I'll also explain a lot of stuff that you could either fall asleep while I'm explaining it or relax, or hopefully it clears things up. So if you're new and you're doubtful, you're skeptical, you're ambivalent, you're feeling a little bit of unease, those are understandable feelings when you first get to this podcast because it is very different. And if you're like everyone that listens to the show and me, you've tried a lot of stuff, right, to help you fall asleep. And maybe it worked for a week or two. Maybe it worked one or two times. And then he said, then it, we know how it goes, everyone that's listening to the show. So why wouldn't you be skeptical or doubtful? The other thing, and this is where a healthy dose of skepticism comes in. This podcast really doesn't work for everybody. It just works for the people it works for. But on top of that, for the people it actually does work for, which is a pretty good amount of people, it took them 2 or 3 tries. So out of the people it works for, 80-90% of those people had to listen 2 or 3 times. Sometimes they needed a year or 2 or 3 year break because the first time they listened, they didn't like the show. But it takes 2 or 3 times to really get used to the podcast because at some point you just let go and you say, oh, okay. This is a show that never goes anywhere and never gets started and never stops. Well, it kind of stops, but it never gets going. It's always running. And Scoots forgets the perfect way he had to sum that up anyway. So if you're skeptical and you're new, please try to give the show a few tries. If you already dislike it, there's a website I made, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you, that has other sleep solutions and sleep audio that you could check out. Because truly, the main reason I'm here and that I make this show is because you deserve a good night's sleep. Whether this podcast provides it or something else does, it doesn't change the fact you deserve a good night's sleep. And I hope you can find that. I hope you can get the rest you need so that your life is more manageable, so that you can flourish, because that is going to positively impact every single person that's listening to this right now. One, accepting that and saying, yeah, you do deserve good night's sleep already has a positive impact. But if you get the rest and you flourish, we'll all benefit from that. And sure, you could say indirectly or whatever, but it's true. And even if you don't think it's true, it's important to me. You getting the rest you need is important. And the flip side of that is I know how it feels. Like I got my dog's got something with her ear right now, so she's been getting up a lot. And, so, when you're listening to this, it'll be far removed but from that. But, so it's haven't been sleeping great, but there's other times it's something else going on, or it's thinking about something, or the past, the present, the future. So I also know, that's why I said it can feel lonely there in the deep dark night. Even if you're not alone, it doesn't matter. It's how it feels in the deep, dark night that's important. And that it's not easy. Despite what all the sleepers say out there, why don't you drink some milk? Blah, blah, blah. We know how it is. And you're not doing it wrong if you can't sleep. It's tough. So that's why I make the show. A couple other things about the podcast, though, to know. This podcast is not something you really listen to in a traditional manner. It just kind of happens in the background. You can listen, and I'll be here the whole time to keep you company, whether you're awake or asleep. So if you can't fall asleep, don't worry. I'll be here telling a story for the next hour. But you don't have to listen to me. And if you try to listen to me, try to do it in a loose way, like looking at clouds floating by. And you say, just like you say, like someone that's like more chill, they say, I wonder what shape that is that you're seeing. You could say, I wonder what Scoots is really trying to talk about, if he's trying to make a point or not, or if he knows the point he's trying to make, or if the point will ever be made. And I say, well, no pointless meanders, So yeah, just kind of listen loosely, like sand going through your hands. It also, ironically enough, this podcast doesn't put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company as you drift off, whether you're awake or asleep. So I'm here to be your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar sib, your boar cuz, your boar bestie, your boar bruh, your boar burr, your neighbor, your boar friend, to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff. Just like if you were, like if I was on call, you say, Scoots, I need you to talk to me about not nothing, but almost nothing. And I say, that's my skill set. I can tell you a story that almost is about, it's almost about something. It is about something and it almost makes sense. So don't worry. I got that covered, and you don't even have to listen to me or pretend to listen. I'll just be here for you. So those are a couple things. The other thing that can throw a lot of people off is the structure around the show. And the structure around the show is designed in a very specific way. But as you become a regular listener, you can kind of adjust to how you want to listen to the show. And it kind of lines up with the goals around the show. First goal of the show is that you feel welcomed in. And so we start off, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So hopefully you feel seen. And you say, okay, this is a place that might feel safe to me. I'm not sure yet. And I get that it's a little bit silly of a place. So let me see if I feel comfortable. So that's the greeting. Then there's support for the show. And that's just a reality. My goal is to have as a bunch of free episodes in the feed so you could listen to episode after episode after episode, that there's a lot of variety, and that 2 new episodes come out a week. For free on all podcast platforms. And to do that, we need the support of the sponsors and the support of the listeners who support the show financially. So that is that support, first part of the support. Then there's support for listeners. If you have extra needs right now, there's organizations you can connect with, and it's about supporting the communities that the show, like all the communities of the listeners around the show, communities of other human beings. So that's the beginning of the show. Then there's the intro, which I don't know, we're like 8 or 9 minutes into, which is separate from the support. Though when people have strong feelings about the support, they also have strong feelings about the intro. But the intro is a show within a show. And it runs, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes of me explaining how the podcast works. Every single time I try to explain, I try to explain it in the same way every time. And thus far, over 1,000 times, I've been unsuccessful. But what that provides you is a little bit of distance between being awake and being asleep. The intro, the reason it's a show within a show, is that it serves a purpose, which is to help you wind down, to give you some twilight time. It's just not just to introduce the podcast. It's to say, oh, here's my friend Scoots. Once again, stumbling along, just like a human being does. And okay, I know these parts of the intro are pretty standard, but then he deviates because he gets mixed up and then he forgets where he is. So I don't know. You say, it is my boar friend there. And if you're new, you say, okay, I kind of get what you're talking about, but I don't quite get it. And I say, boy, you get me. Do you ever get me? That was quick. So the intro goes on and on and on, so that for a lot of listeners, it's part of their wind down routine, whether they're getting ready for bed, if they're doing some other relaxing activity, or they're just in bed getting comfortable. That's why the intro goes on and on and on, and it's a show within a show. Also, people just like it. And for 2 or 3% of people, they just skip the intro. They start the show at 20, 25 minutes into it, and then a few thousand people actually pay so they get story-only episodes. But more people pay to get all intro episodes, which is, well, I guess more people listen. Anyway, not important. So just kind of see how it goes at first. But the reason the intro goes on and on and on, and the story does not start right away, is because it's just my feeling after 1,000 episodes, or even after a few hundred, that it was like, oh, wait a second. If I start the story too soon, it kind of interrupts that flow, because it's not like a direct A. If we switch A, then we switch B. That's what never worked about that countdown stuff, or, okay, get in a boat to your higher animal or whatever. You're rowing with your higher animal. And it's always like, I'm rowing a boat with a high animal. It must be a dream, because it's not a good idea, because it's not a good idea. Also, which animals have opposable thumbs that could be rowing something? Because I was picturing a teddy bear, which is not an animal either. It's a toy that's become a sentient anthropomorphized being. Anyway, so see, there's a pointless meander that just popped up. So just kind of see how it goes. But that's why the intro goes on and on and on. Then there's business between the intro and the show. And again, that's what keeps the show coming out twice a week for free. And then there's the story. Tonight will be our episodically modular, slightly serialized series. What is it called? Spice Friends. What could be more what could you look forward to falling asleep to more than a series about giant spice friends? So there's that, and then there's thank yous at the end. So it's a structured show. That's why I make the show. So give it a few tries. I really hope, I really yearn and I strive. Really hope I can help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to do it for you free twice a week. Hey, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Headspace. And I want you to think about how you're doing today. Like, how are you really doing? Go ahead, have a think. Take a couple breaths. If you're feeling hyper or tired or annoyed or just, like that, it might be time to connect with your feelings by starting your mental health journey with Headspace. We all say fine when we don't mean it, and fine isn't really an emotion, is it? How many times have you told yourself you're fine when what you've really felt is anger or sadness or stress? Headspace is scientifically proven to help you manage your feelings and your mental health. In fact, a recent study proved in just 2 weeks, Headspace can reduce your stress by 14%. Whether you want to relieve stress and anxiety, sleep better, or improve your focus, Headspace is your everyday dose of mindfulness for real life. Now, I've been doing 2 Headspace routines. My daughter and I are going through the creativity course, and so we've been using the tools and the visualizations. And then I'm going through the self-esteem course again. I love the tools on the 3 levels of that course. And before I use Headspace, I was just blundering through things. And Headspace has really helped me stop and be in the moment. With either course, it not only helps me right then at bedtime or in the morning or in the middle of the day, it impacts my whole day in a positive way and all my interactions. I cannot recommend Headspace enough. And this is a free trial. So I really want you to check it out for you. So however you're feeling, try Headspace at headspace.com/sleepwithme and get 1 month free of their entire mindfulness library. This is the best Headspace offer available. So go to headspace.com/sleepwithme today. That's headspace.com/sleepwithme. Thanks, everybody. All right, buddy, it's Scoots here. It is time for our episodically modular series. Episodically modular series with a touch of seriality. It's at this point called Spice Friends. And this would, so if you're new to the show or new to the series, or you say, Scoots, hasn't the series kind of changed? And I say, yeah, these series are always in Sleep With Me, always in developing, but sometimes reverting at the same, developing, Sleep With Me stories. Sometimes they're going nowhere. They're neither reverting nor developing, but they're always becoming something. But sometimes they've already become what they, oh, sorry, this is not an intro, though. It's a setup for our, well, it's not a new series anymore. This is the 4th episode. Here's the good news, though. This could be your first episode because I'm going to tell you everything you need to know right now. And then you could listen to the other 3 episodes. That'd be prequels. That actually just works out like the famous space opera. A New Hope was episode 4. So there you go. You're right in time. You're listening at the perfect time. And that's why I'm going to tell you everything I need to know. Episodically modular means that even though there's a touch of seriality, you could listen to these episodes in any order. Out of order might even be preferable. In fact, you don't even need to listen to them at all because I'm going to carry you off into dreamland. So I guess, yes. Oh, okay. So what is Spice Friends? Spice Friends is a story about a world just like ours and not too far in the future where, and you've seen this portrayed in so many movies and so many different, I don't know if I've read any books about this, but I've seen movies and cartoons, animated programs, comic books, and toys. So at some point in our future, in this world, which is, it's a fictional world, there becomes big ones, like big forest friends that are walking around. And they don't exactly love humans. And somehow, if you trace it back, you say, okay, maybe this has to do with, there was once a song called Radioactive. I can't remember who sang it. Maybe it was just something in the background. I get a London dance feel from it, but I'm not sure if it was, kind of that style of song. And these big ones appeared, and they said, we didn't get the message right away, but they said, hey, we don't like that song, or anything that subtextually might be related to that song, if you catch my drift. And we didn't realize that as human beings in this world that I'm broadcasting from now, as of right now, the second. And so the big ones would go around and they'd say, well, what are you using that? What are you playing that song for? Offensive dancing, defensive dancing, energy producing dancing. Actually, we don't care. Just, we'd prefer it in a strong sense. We may step on your boombox or take the batteries out, but we're also gigantic beings. So that was the state of the world for quite some time. And they would come, they would go. It was always a conundrum. How do we deal with this? But then they had gone for a while, and they made this comeback. Oh, we thought we had them all on this island. It was technically an atoll. But how come everybody now yells at me, hey, Atoll? I said, oh, I saw it. I said, dang, I said, great quiet. When they're honking, no, or they're just driving by, make a comment about how I walk or how I bike. And then they usually say, hey, Atoll. And I said, I thought I was the only Atoll fan around that didn't know really very much about atolls because I think they're islands. But if they actually, is it an island? Here's a question. Do islands, this is really a question. I'm not kidding. And I guess I already answered it. The islands must go all the way down below the sea to connect with the earth below the sea floor, right? Okay. Dead silence in my brain. One of my parts of my brain just face planted itself. But really, if that is the case, there's got to be some floating islands, right? Maybe not. Yeah, I guess my ignorance is always on display. But they lived on they were all resting on a atoll. Don't you want to call me an atoll now? I say, but no, it's not my name, but I do like atolls. I love saying it. Or atoll. I say, you say atoll, I say atoll. I see. Usually, I said there's that effect when you're going by, the Doppler effect, that it sounds like atoll when you say atoll. So, okay, giggles aside, the big ones were on an atoll. Then President Smith and Vice President Smith were elected as president and vice president of the United States at the time. It just happened to coincide with the comeback of the big ones. President Smith had to disconnect part of the United States to become like an Atlantis-like civilization in an attempt to get rid of one of the big ones. That didn't really work, which probably stressed President Smith out even more. Then President Smith became a big one with this serum or something. Doesn't matter because it's in the past. But President Smith became a giant, big one, big being. Dealt with the big ones, got them all. Actually, it seemed like it was going to be an offensive thing, but it was really a distraction. President Smith got all the big ones to the big ones atoll. And then I guess there was some sort of, President Smith was working with this planet Zipper, who would then put our entire planet into hibernation. Now, the good news is because of their metabolism or something, big ones sleep a lot longer than everything else on the earth. So they stayed asleep a long time, a lot longer than all the humans and everything else. And then we had sent a space team or astronauts to Planet Zipper to get some longer-term solution. One astronaut came back. Now, in the meantime, this was like, space travel is not like in the movies. It takes a while. And so by the time this astronaut got back, a lot of things had changed. So if you were living where you're living now, you may be under the auspices of affiliated, I don't know, the friendly nations or something. Vice President Smith, she had, I think, taken a step out of politics, but then returned, or whatever you call it, leadership, I would call it. And she was now president, technically not president of the world, but president of the CN, Cooperative Nations. I just got that note. Thank you. And then the big ones, so I'm trying to get to where we're supposed to be, right? So then the big ones appeared again, unrelated to President Smith being president of the world. Or not appeared again. They were already they were sleeping on Big One's Island or hibernating, and everyone was waiting for the hibernation to end. Not exactly a great thing. That one of the astronauts returned from Planet Zipper. They had sent instructions, so there was like this whole children's programming happening, and cereal and toys at the instructions from the astronaut of Planet Zipper they sent ahead of time, which was confusing, but President Smith, she went with it. And then, but she was expecting the astronaut to have, like a laser or super serum or something else to deal with, or like a big one, a positive big one or something to deal with the big ones, or like extending their hibernation. And understandably, the whole world was expecting that too. Meanwhile, the astronaut said, no, we don't have anything like that. But if you trust me, if we put on this children's programming, which is also geared towards adults with positive reinforcement, validation, all that kind of good stuff. I think if you trust me, you'll see. Well, because the astronaut explained to President Smith and all of us who are listening, but I'll explain it to you now. There was a manifestation theory that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You got to take it on faith alone. But if you track things back, you say, okay, wait a second. When the inspiration for the song Radioactive started, which is not the actual inspiration, I know. That's when the big ones appeared. And the manifestation theory goes that's how they became into being. Again, I'm sure science could eventually will track down the actual mechanics of all that. But right now it's beyond our understanding, especially for this story. Many things beyond my understanding. But the astronaut said on Planet Zipper, they take the manifestation theory seriously. And if a big one can manifest from that kind of energy, just like the song Pure Energy, which may or may not be by the same band, but it's in the same style as that. It said, if you use positive energy, maybe you could manifest a positive big one. Obviously, President Smith kind of scoffed at that and said, we're actually looking for real solutions here. But the astronaut was very confident, said, hey, trust me on this one, or go ahead, you only partially trust me, keep going in parallel. Now, the only thing that's troubling, beyond the big ones that was troubling President Smith was the fact that she did have one big solution, which was similar to her father's, but her father's was only localized in the United States and California and Nevada. She had a solution because the big one's atoll happens to be at an just like all good atolls, they're at an intersection of continental plates and things or whatever, whatever those things are called, lines, where continental plates intersect. And they did have a device that could definitely cause the big one's atoll to go bye-bye. But it would also impact those continental plates. So definitely get rid of the big one's atoll, but it would have a lot of after effects for regular folks. And a large impact. And so President Smith is like, okay, that's a real tough decision to make here, not the one I want to make. Get rid of the big ones, but no one's qualified to make that choice, though everybody expects. President Smith also, this wasn't revealed in any of the stories, but I'll just tell it to you now so you have it, is the only one that can enact that, because working with her father and seeing the path her father had to go down, and because of her intelligence and foresight, made sure this was that she would carry the fail-safe and that there's no way to duplicate it or anything. So only she can make the final choice because she carries the fail-safe with her. Of course, you can see that there's a little bit of a thing in that plan, and she did have minor backup plans. But again, for the time being, she said, if anybody's going to do it, I'm going to do it because my father had to do something similar. I'm president of the world, but I don't want to do it because I'm president of the world, not part of the world. And, not just a part of the world, but also President Smith on the other side said, but I'm president of the world, so I will have to decide this if needed. The astronaut was saying, don't worry about it. Meanwhile, the manifestation theory turned out, again, this could be just projection, but let's just say it for the sake of the story. It turned out to be true. The projection or manifestation worked, and they were able to manifest a giant positive cinnamon stick who managed to deal with moth breath, the first big one that awoke, and saved different places from moth breath, and then left the world, maybe fused with moth breath or something, but they went into outer space. So that's one big one gone. I guess we won't be I don't think we'll see cinnamon spice. That was the name of the spice friend. So, but meanwhile, that left an island also still full of big ones that were, getting to the end of their sleep cycle because moth breath woke up. Though moth breath may have been awakened by a bunch of people that had a moth breath based belief system. So without further ado, that's where we're left off. President of the world, President Smith, the astronaut working on positive solutions through children's programming that manifests giant spice-based beings. And in a recipe with one Hollywood announcer who really is my cinnamon spice, Mr. Antonio Banderas. Thank you, Scooter. The friends beyond the binaries, the ladies, the gentlemen, the boys and girls. It's time to get spicy with Spice Friends. Clump, clumpity clump. Yeah. Holy cow, you did, once again, you came up with the thing. See, just like it takes a while for the show to get a title, it takes a while for your brilliance. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people that work with you expect you to just turn it. I mean, your charm's already turned on. But that, whatever that is, that skill that you were able to do there, you can't just turn that on, right? It takes, right, Scooter, it takes a while. And I need a title and understanding of this basic story, which you've provided me now. Thank you and good night. All right, yeah, you could go lie on my bed again. I have your comforter. I also added some other comfort. Like I said, how's that comfort? I tested the comforter when you weren't here, and it was quiet. So I don't know if there's something else. It sounds like you're wearing all leather clothes, but you're not. So I also ordered you some clothes that you can that I need you to change into. Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks. That's Mr. Antonio Banderas, and this is Spice Friends. Okay, so I'm recording these messages for you or for whoever listens to it. President Smith, I'm very proud of you. I think I mention that every single time, but it's just because the cinnamon spice worked, and there's been some time since cinnamon spice's appearance. And just because it worked once, we don't know. I mean, I'm confident it'll work again. But, everyone expected it to work again immediately before any other big ones awoke. And I have told you this interpersonally, but I don't know if there's a way to announce it to the world. That's like, well, what if this doesn't work in the way we all expect? My team is prepared for that. It's not, and even when it did work, it wasn't in the way everyone expected. Because along the way, one thing we learned is when we lost sight of the why and the what the first time. Is that what caused it not to work? I mean, probably contributed to it. So I have to think about how I can stay focused and my team can stay focused. And I don't know if the right word is firewall, but you've done a good job of that, protecting us from the outside world, our existence, even those people said, oh, that's interesting that, there was a spice run on that show, and then there was a spice run in the world. It's brought in a lot of spice run stuff is selling out, of course, but it's just not that simple, But, the whole world is waiting vigilantly for both the next big one and the next spice one. And, there's reports all the time of spice friend or big ones waking up or spice friends appearing. And that, why can't one appear now? But there hasn't been any appearances, but people want either answers or actions from you in their leadership. They don't want faith. They don't want trust. Obviously you can't just present the manifestation theory or to say, hey, trust us. Everything's going to be okay. Just be patient. We don't know what we're doing, but trust us anyway. And at least on my end, I know what our next steps are going to be because I know I can feel the feelings directed at you and directed that everyone's feeling right now is pretty potent. It's the ANGER. And it walks hand in hand with that vigilance, this hyper vigilance. And so we're moving forward, and we've been pitching ideas, and we've been testing out different spice friends, and none of them have appeared, and that's fine. But we thought about it in a session recently. I said, okay, like, it's hard to detach, to be process-based when we're hoping for an outcome. But we keep returning to the feelings, and that's why I'm talking about feelings, because we made a list of how do we feel or what do we think about those feelings I mentioned, and then a list of spices that don't reflect those feelings. But one of the things we came up with is like, well, it's tough to understand, or this doesn't make sense, or how is this healthy when it's portrayed always in a not a positive light? How do you validate something that's volatile? What do you do? Because, of course, if there's an island full of big ones, you're going to be, on alert. And we kind of talked about the feelings and the thoughts and, tried to stay process-based. And then we said, well, what is a spice that's kind of like that, especially from a child's perspective, that they don't understand? If you told them about it, they probably wouldn't be interested. Even if you told them, trust me, when I put this in food, it's one of those things that makes us taste better. We couldn't we did want to get the rights to the Dragonlance prequels of the two brothers and the Magier brothers. And then just for the one scene where Raceland gets a job cooking at an inn, and the secret ingredient is garlic, but that was not possible, and they said it was too confusing, so we said, okay, garlic, but that was the spice we came up with. It was garlic is in the same way or similar to those other feelings. You say, well, I don't know about it, or I'm not sure, and if you overcook it, holy cow, it's bitter, it's unpalatable if you go too far. Or if you just have it raw, you wouldn't do, unless only under certain circumstances. But at the same time, if you roast it and it's caramelized, it's entirely different and subtle. And so we started to work on understanding garlic, or garlic being the misunderstood spice friend. And especially even as adults, you say, oh, okay, there's garlic. It's papery. It's leathery. We say, okay, that's not where it's garlic. Garlic could be green. So I don't know, we just started doing dances about that and how it feels to be misunderstood. And it was, I guess we did make some missteps with showing garlic, how to cook garlic. I didn't realize it at the time, but I wanted to that was me. I wanted to point out that, what if you overcooked this? And we didn't air those, luckily, but we did take the steps back, and I said, okay, wait a second. Like the team reminded me, follow the feelings, right? And I said, okay, what if we, through song and dance and in a subtle way that I'm not capable of, but this amazing team of dancers and singers and writers and performers and puppeteers, they've been able to do, what if there is a way we could create dance and song and story to take garlic on a journey that I think our world needs to go on, of following those feelings. And so we did. We've been doing these stories of taking garlic to places maybe garlic doesn't want to go. And again, it's cloaked, but not in a way that insults children, obviously. More, it's even obvious. A lot of it's on the nose, but it's in song and dance. So then it makes it not on the nose. I don't even understand some of this stuff. But, what would happen if garlic stays on guard about everything? Just like you are in that place of, if the world's aggression, if they expect you, they're turning it against you so to make you more offensive, but you don't want to make that last choice there. Or I don't know, I can't speak for you. but leading Garlic down that road and saying yes every time, and I guess validating. Of saying, yeah, okay, what if you go on guard? Okay, what if you go with these feelings? And seeing the folly in it through Garlic's eyes mostly, and saying, oh, wait a second, you can, if you validate it, then you kind of see, you get sad in the end. You say, well, I really feel bad for you, Garlic. You followed this friend. Is again a little bit of a misdirect. Down angry road, keeping an eye on everyone. And look where it led. Now, how do we feel about Garlic? Oh, wait, were we with Garlic the whole time? We were dancing along, following along. Oh, we feel a little bit sad if that's where we ended up. Not in Candyland. No, no, no. But there's been no result of Garlic, whatever, appearing. But I can feel it in the team. I could feel it in me, and I can feel it in the children, that there is a response. And I don't think the adults are changing their mind. They're saying, oh, no, President Smith, it's time. We'll take action against the CN. We'll leave the CN if you don't, But the funny thing is, I guess to me, what you've explained to me and what you've explained to them is you don't know. There's theories, okay, it'll be this ring theory around, concentric rings around Big One Atoll. But other geologists have said, no. It probably will cause an impact on the other side of the world. Or, there's this tectonic plate theory. So you have people holding on to different theories of what would happen. I mean, every theory says this impact of getting rid of Big One's Atoll will come with great cost. But everybody's looking at it from a different way because no one knows what will happen. But they all want you to act anyway because they want you to act right. So that's what I'm thinking Garlic is providing us right now. But, the world does not want to wait, and it makes me wonder how you're feeling. And I guess you have to be stoic and strong. But I have seen you watching the more time you spend down here, and that you are, I guess that's where my pride came from at the beginning, isn't your ability to be a leader. It's the ability to also be a join-inner or a part of, and that's kind of, you've been a part of the team. You've set aside, and you've even scheduled it as a time. Because, we've talked about these things, obviously, where you're only a part of the Spice Friends production team or the Big Emojis team, whatever it is. Spice Friends have kind of taken off where the show itself, still the Big Emoji show with Spice Friends, but, really the Spice Friends are the focus. So, I don't know. I mean, we've talked a lot about it and the cost of things and where things are going. And I also know that you have some plan. I mean, by coming here and joining us, that's part of the plan. But it's a lot for you to carry. I like watching you dance and sing and partake and be a part of the team, a contributor to the team, even with your presence. And I guess, just like everywhere else in the world, there's staff members that have stronger feelings about what actions you should take. But if they're participating, they can only, they have to walk their own path. Let me just take it. You're knocking at my door. Excuse me. Okay, well, it's been a little while since I've recorded, but and things have happened. You'd knocked on my door during my last recording, and you had said, okay, with these rumors, they're not rumors anymore. because it's like we had talked about, people started seeing garlic spice everywhere, which we were hopeful about, but it wasn't showing up on any of our tests. And then you said there's something showing up, but it's not from Big One's Atoll. It was never on Big One's Atoll. And so we said, maybe this is garlic. It said it was in wetlands areas. The signal would go, it would disappear. But that also started to line up with people seeing this new Big One, Boggy, and rising up from bogs or swamps. And again, those are somewhat isolated areas in most places, in wetlands. But again, when we looked, we said, wait a second, these sightings do line up with the tests now. And some of the views people were saying didn't exactly, I don't know, that it looked different in different places. But then we had, I guess our first, the Boggy's here, and it's here in Florida, or the former Florida. We still call it Florida, though. And Boggy is, Florida's wetlands, all wetlands now, but cities and wetlands. And Boggy's been visiting the cities, and it's not going good. But then vanishing back into the wetlands and occasionally appearing throughout the world. And again, we said, but now we know, the world doesn't know, that there's only one Boggy. And you said, does this fit the manifestation theory? Is it manifesting? And I said, no, I don't think you could manifest twice or demanifest and remanifest. But obviously the world didn't know that. And they said, what if there's multiple Boggies? And while it's a distraction, it was also another impetus for the world, other leaders of the world, and I guess a large percentage of the populace to try to, again, get you to take action. But it was also, as we stayed tuned to the feelings of the world, it was also this thing of, wait a second, things have changed. There's still that ANGER and this vigilance and kind of leading you to be like, take action or want you to take action. But now it changed a little bit too, because the feelings became more and more like frustrated with you is a mild way to put it, and blaming you for not getting rid of Big One's Atoll. Kind of more of a, like it went from a hot to a slow smolder. Like I'd say, what people would say would be contempt. And I saw it around us, even some of the staff, like I said, and I said, well, okay, they have their feelings, but if they're focused on being part of a team, those feelings don't have to be everything for them. They can be there. And so people were starting to feel loathing and blaming and, frowny faces. So I said, okay, well, how can we do this with garlic, whether garlic appears or not, which is really hard, especially with Boggy appearing and disappearing, but becoming more and more frequent in Florida. And again, just like you're responsible for the people of the world, you're saying, okay, well, sooner or later, Boggy's going to get closer to really the area where a lot of people live in Florida. But we talked about that, we actually returned to those cooking lessons and talked about garlic. How'd you feel about this mistake I made? I went on, and it's been rare since I've been on the show. And I told Garlic, hey, I made this mistake. I thought we would teach people about you. Because, when you cook, it was a little bit comedic, but again, with a strange undertone. And I said to Garlic, do you know you're not even the same as the garlic we eat? You're a symbol of garlic, but you're also a bigger symbol. But then I said, how are you feeling about all this? And Garlic said, not good. I feel like my temper's rising. but I also feel a lot of it directed at you. You know, we played this out, and again, we played it out over song and dance. I'm trying to be as clear as I can because sometimes the subtleness of the show, I don't know, this helps me to think it out and say, just see where I'm missing things. Because when I miss things, I'm missing the thing that's right on my nose, you know. So we talked to Garlic about this and holding resentment and that kind of stuff. And again, where would it go? Let's head out again, Garlic, and take me with you. But the world's fires didn't subside towards you. But again, I felt a shift in the children and in the staff, even the staff's attitudes towards you, because when you get to the end of those roads, it's a sad road to go down. And you really can, when you say, hey, I keep validating this, but also looking at it and saying, okay, well, if we validate that you're feeling this way, but the feelings, but then say, okay, well, what if you acted on that thought, Garlic, where would it take you next? When you see where those kind of things end up, you say, oh, maybe I should just let those feelings flow through me because it's sad if I'm just controlled by the thoughts and the feelings. I don't know. So, but what couldn't be denied is that finally Boggy had headed inland, or what you would consider inland in other areas. And what was interesting, though, is Boggy, we thought Boggy was going to go to one of the big cities, and out on the outskirts of one of the big cities is this gigantic garden that's been maintained for so long. And that it's really like something people love. And, you know, they've adjusted it to the the more wetlands type environments over the few decades. But something about Boggy seemed different. Now, we had learned by observing Boggy that Boggy was of the wetlands and the swamps and the bogs, so kind of an amalgamation of organic materials. But this garden really seemed to irritate Boggy, which was interesting with all the way the world was feeling, that Boggy seemed really angry at this manufactured garden. You say, okay, well, maybe it's this clash of organic versus a cultivated garden. Now, of course, we were wrong because it had been a while since, whatever. So Boggy started clomping around this garden. It was very large. At first, we didn't even realize it because we said, well, it's not that far outside of the city, and maybe Boggy's getting ready, or maybe, I don't know. But then we saw Boggy make its way towards the center of this garden where there's this giant green stalk towering, and Boggy was pacing around, and he seemed to be yelling with one of those sonic things at the stalk and kicking at the dirt, and we realized that Boggy's digging with the feet. There seems to be something about this green stalk, and I guess none of us ought to analyze it or the history of the gardens. How long has that stalk been there? What was it? But it ended up, we would find out, because Boggy started to pull at the stalk and dig around the stalk and hit at the stalk, and then pulled it out of the ground and started swinging it. And our reaction was a bit of concern, because at the end of this long green thing was this big clump of earth. We said, is Boggy using tools? And then go to the history of the big ones. The big ones use tools not normally, but they could, and they never use them for anything other than causing property damage, I guess would be the way to put it. So Boggy's swinging this thing around, And we were all watching. We were getting ready to film something, and someone said, "What if that's actually garlic?" And I said, "We garlic is a bulb," and we did say, "Okay, let's get something on air." But what happened as we were, we had something ready to go. It was in the same thematic place. But at the same time, we noticed that suddenly the garlic, it was garlic, started to wrap itself around Boggy. And then feet, it was long, so it wrapped around Boggy a few times and then started to swing Boggy up over this garden had these giant trees that were no longer trees. They were just wood. They were trees that had passed to the great beyond. But the wood was there. It was called, the empty forest. And if garlic threw Boggy over the tree, so they were hanging in counterbalance over this tree off the ground. And Boggy was writhing and trying to get some of the garden to grow up to connect, but it was pretty high up. And they sat there in the Florida sun for some time. They said, "Oh yeah, that's right. This is a lesson in garlic. Garlic is drying out, but garlic was also drying out Boggy." And now, afterwards you realize, wait a second, because Boggy's power was the wetlands and the swamp and the bog, not just the organic material, but the water as well. And eventually garlic dried out first. Boggy was still resting and waiting, but it was clear also that Boggy's, obviously the thing that dried out first was the stalk, but Boggy knew that, so Boggy dropped down and on its feet and then became this giant spice friend, just like we would have expected, a smiling bulb of garlic. But what we didn't expect was Boggy kind of opened up to catch, garlic spice, and everybody says garlic spice, but yeah, garlic spice caught Boggy and shot out some of its cloves so they could fit Boggy in the paper part of garlic. And again, Boggy was very irritable. And this part was a bit of a back and forth because Boggy was trying to use the earth and trying to get a splash of water. But garlic seemed to know to just hold. And this kind of went along with those things we were saying. Okay, let's see your anger. Okay. Yeah, let's let that play out. Let's hold it. We'll be here for you as you get more and more irritable. And garlic, you kind of marched along the few dry places left to the highest point it could get to, which luckily, these are giant beings, so it's not as like us walking across Florida to Georgia and eventually getting to the top, the highest, driest place it could find. And still letting things dry out and air out, but holding and smiling. And you could kind of see that Boggy was comforted by garlic too. I don't know. And again, we're still trying to figure out why did Boggy manifest. My theory is Boggy was all of those strong feelings people were feeling towards you. And wanting you to act and wanting to take away, to make you act. And then eventually Boggy kind of seemed to really be more dried out, and the garlic hopped into the sea and headed towards Big One's Atoll like a garlic bulb boat. Or a duck. I don't know. I guess it was garlic was using its feet like a duck and just kind of floating along the water. And Boggy kind of had the sense this was really salty water. So not the kind of, I mean, some bogs are brackish, but not all bogs are brackish. Only brackish bogs are brackish, Boggy. And it gave us some time because all this unfolded slowly to address it on the show and to kind of address it in the same themes, to even give it a deeper lesson. What do we learn? Boggy sat, where Garlic sat with Boggy. Garlic held Boggy when Boggy wanted to be held, or gave it a container for its feelings. And then Garlic went up to Big One's Atoll, climbed up to the top of that same volcano, and sat in there. And then, again, before our eyes, we realized that those two had kind of become a flowering, I don't know, something. I guess, I don't know if there's garlic flowers, but they're sitting there plugging the volcano. Though I think it stopped flowing with cinnamon spice. And sitting in there, kind of like it's a big pot, and the two of them are there, but neither one of them they seem like just beautiful plants again. So I don't know. I know we're still waiting for the rest of the big ones, and, but I hope we can rest and say, hey, let me lie here and give myself and hold my own feelings and say, oh, who else feels this way? Can I hold their feelings too? Or can I hold some space for them? Because if we run down that road, it's a little bit sad. We don't want to be. It's okay to feel sad too. It's okay to be mad. But look where it goes. Let's see where it leads us before we're led. And I guess that's kind of your leadership style too, President Smith. So I hope you're getting some rest wherever you're hearing this. And I appreciate you. I'm proud of you. Good night. All right. I want to thank everybody that reviewed the podcast on Apple Podcasts recently. I want to thank It's Ryder, who said, I'm so grateful this podcast. Sophomore in high school, 3 honors classes, which is super stressful, and that makes it hard to sleep. And this podcast has helped keep my mind from racing. Thank you. I'm so happy to help you. KBOZ says, my go-to at bedtime. Been listening on and off since 2014. Recommended. I fall asleep pretty quick after the end of the intro. It's perfect. Thanks, Scooter. Coolia 1903 or Cool Leah 1903 says A+. So we get school theme going with these reviews. Works so well. Start the podcast and fall asleep. One time I had a dream. I was picking a mermaid tail for Scoots in The Sims. Cool. Anxiety no more, says great for anxious mind. Discovered this by Googling how to shut down my racing thoughts, and I can't believe how awesome it is, and it works. Thanks. So thanks to everybody for reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts. I also want to thank everybody that joined our referral program recently. We only get a few signups, and then it does take some work to get referrals, but I want to thank Emmy, who signed up, Celeste, who signed up, Abigail, who signed up, Alexis. I want to thank Lex, who got their first referral, Lori, Mary, Aiden, James, Sarah's got her first referral, Austin, Heidi's got 4 referrals, MJ, Bruce, Leggy's got 2 referrals, Kathy, Stephanie, Amy, Griffin, Mary, David, Mel, Louisa, Nick, and Mark. So thanks everybody who recently in the past few months signed up for that referral program. You can sign up and get rewarded for sharing the podcast at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer. Thanks everybody.